Hello, today I'm going to be ranking Great Adventure roller coasters. Yay! But I'm not going to be ranking the family coasters or the kiddie coaster. Let's get started. This might seem a bit odd, but I have Medusa placed as the last place throw coaster in Great Adventure. This ride is basically a clone of Scream at Six Flags Magic Mountain, except it has terrain and it goes slower. As if Scream wasn't going slow enough already, man, this ride is so mid. The only notable moment about this ride is the Zero G roll and the helix after the mid-course brake run. I mean, I guess I like the colors, that's a positive. I like the sign out front in front of the Cobra Roll. Honestly, I like watching this ride more than riding it. At least it's smooth. Okay, fine. I knew I said I wouldn't put any family coasters on here, but Runaway Mine Train is built different. I mean, this family coaster has more forces than Medusa. Like, I just love mine trains. Mine trains are kind of like wooden coasters to me, like that kind of jankiness that you feel gives the ride its character. For anyone who's ridden the Beast, I haven't, and this is kind of what I imagine Beast to feel like, but better, and I love it. And I haven't even mentioned the best part of the ride yet, the very fun finale. This ride drops into a low to the ground turn, rises up again, goes down a second drop that gives really good airtime, and goes over a hill that gives straight ejector. Where can you see that on Medusa? Not to mention this panoramic turn over the lake, which is also really pretty and gives some really good views. Up next is the Batman clone, and this has to be one of the best Batman clones I've ever seen. Yes, only seen, not ridden, because this ride is kinda mid. This ride is kind of like the Batman at Six Flags Magic Mountain, but it runs slower, and it also runs as rough at Six Flags Over Georgia's. I'm not complaining, I'm just simply stating the facts. With all that being said, this ride is still really good. I mean, it's not mid like Medusa, but it's just a good ride. Like, it still gives pretty good forces. The Zero G roll is pretty whippy and pretty floaty as well. And the corkscrews, as always on inverts, are really fun and whippy, except for Silver Bullet. Yay, underrated coaster. Whoa, never seen that on my channel before. This is Green Lantern, the B&M stand-up coaster. This ride is kind of like Riddler's Revenge at Six Flags Magic Mountain, but a tiny bit toned down, and that's not like a bad thing. Like, some people might not prefer the insane intensity of Riddler, but I personally find this ride really fun still. All the inversions are either really floaty or really forceful, and most of the filler elements in between don't even feel like filler elements. Like, they still get really good forces, and even if they don't, they're still really fun. Even though the first drop absolutely sucks, the mid-course brake run drop makes up for it because it's better. I only got one ride on this, but on the one ride that I got, that ending section after the corkscrews, it honestly didn't feel too underwhelming. Like, it didn't feel disappointing or anything, but when I get more rides, I'll probably have my opinions changed, but it wasn't too bad. This ride was definitely a bit rougher than Riddler's Revenge or any of the other stand-up coasters I've ridden, except for Vortex, but it was nothing to complain about since I still had a lot of fun. Not my GP friends, though. They didn't like it. Next up is Superman Ultimate Flight. This is a B&M flying coaster, and yes, there are two big B&Ms right next to each other. Except that this one's a clone, and I've ridden it at Six Flags Over Georgia, and yeah, Six Flags Over Georgia is definitely better. But I will always prefer a flying coaster over a stand-up coaster. Until I ride a really good stand-up coaster, that is not changing. Even though this ride doesn't have the terrain that Six Flags Over Georgia's has, I still don't really mind it since you're still flying pretty high in the air and you can actually feel like you're flying really high. The pretzel loop, as always, really intense, really fun. The turns, they're fine, nothing too interesting, but the inversion, that 1-0 roll at the very end, is really fun, and I wish they had like a space to fit a 0G roll somewhere else, but I get that this was a prototype, so yeah. For the third best roller coaster I've ridden in the park that I have ridden is Jersey Devil. This is an RMC single rail coaster, and yeah, I find these single rail rides pretty underrated, especially the larger ones. The smaller ones I find pretty overrated, but we'll talk about that later. I've already ridden Wonder Woman Flight of Courage at Six Flags Magic Mountain before, so I wasn't expecting too much from this ride, and it kind of met my expectations. It wasn't too insane or interesting or anything like that, because I've already ridden a clone of it that was better. But that doesn't mean this ride was bad. I mean, it has an insane first drop, especially if you're sitting in the back. It's definitely one of the best first drops I've ridden, and not to mention the rest of the layout, which is also really good. Like, it has some pretty good flow to airtime, nothing too insane like strong ejector, but I don't really mind not having insane ejector as long as it has good quality airtime, and this ride does. Whoa, would you look at that? It's the tallest roller coaster in the world. Yay, I've ridden it, and it met my expectations. The launch on this ride is everything that I wished for when I was getting ready to ride this. This is basically everything I've wished for in an Intamin accelerated coaster. It's like Accelerator at Knott's Berry Farm, but on steroids. And the top hat, I mean, it's fun. It's nothing too, like, absolutely crazy, even though you think it's the tallest roller coaster in the world. It's not, like, too insane like it looks like in the POVs and stuff, but it's still really fun, and it's kind of like the cherry on top for the launch. After that, you have a pretty good floater hill. It's nothing too interesting. It probably just gives like 0G airtime, but that's about it. This ride doesn't have much quantity, but what it has is really good quality. And to my favorite roller coaster that I have ridden in the park, Nitro, the B&M Hyper. Even though this is my least favorite B&M Hyper, that kind of gives a statement to how good these ride models are. Man, B&M Hypers are so good, and this is not an exception. Yeah, you get floater airtime on the hills, you have some pretty good Gs, but not to mention that, you also get some really good speed on these rides, and I think speed is very underrated. This ride absolutely hits with every single hill, and I love that. This ride does have some trims, but they don't really sacrifice any of the elements too much. This helix right here I think is better than Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia's helix because it goes upward instead of downward, and the twist into the mid-course brake run gives ejector, I'm not even joking. And this last run of Bunny Hills, it's kind of like Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia's last run of Bunny Hills, but there's one more, and it gives weaker floater airtime. And just because I'm saying it's weaker airtime doesn't mean it's worse. And I absolutely love this ride, so let's move on to the number one spot that doesn't exist. Oh man. El Toro. I am so disappointed that I did not get to ride this roller coaster when I went for the 2 days I was at this park. First of all, I don't see how this wouldn't be the best ride in the park. Like, an 180-foot wooden roller coaster. That is my type of ride right there. Wooden coaster, almost hyper heights. Yes. From the first drop to the 2 gigantic ejector camelbacks to the rolling thunder hill, this could potentially be in my top 5 or top 7. Like, it's that good. I'm sad I missed out on this ride, but oh well, it's more of a reason to come back, am I right? Anyways, moving on to Flash Vertical Velocity. This is a ride that's coming new for 2025. It was delayed because it was supposed to open this year. It is a Vekoma launched Super Boomerang, and I'm just gonna say this ride looks super great. Like, I don't think it's gonna be like El Toro level good, but it has potential to be maybe, just maybe, better than Kingda Ka, which is insane. This is definitely going to be one of the first ever Vekoma modern thrill coasters in the States, and that's just really exciting. Anyways, to keep the video short, I'll just end it here. So the next ranking video will be of Six Flags New England, so I'll see you then.